Hey, party people. In this edition of my series on design principles as applied to fashion design, we're going to study proportion using Prada and Versace, their latest collections, and compare their proportions as a case study. Prada is like, librarian geeky chic. Prada doesn't care about the male gaze. And Versace is more like straightforward, sexy. It's chic, it's powerful. And the two brands are very different from each other. And this really plays out in their usage of proportions. Okay. Usual disclaimer, principles of design are not something that I made up, but are a set of principles that are taught in almost every art and design school around the world. They are not zoisms as much as I would like to take credit for them, and they can be applied to any art and design field, industrial design, transportation design, what have you. But my series focuses on how they're used in fashion. Okay. Proportion is a simple concept, but worth exploring because it has its absolute claws in everything. Okay. Now, proportion is not a size. Okay. When you think about proportions, you're not talking about 40 inches or 20 centimeters. It's the size of something in relation to another thing. It can also be the number of things in relation to another thing, like a dress that has a few embellishments as opposed to a lot of embellishments. But proportion, often references the silhouette of a thing, in particular where the waist is. If it's at natural waist, we have like more of a 40-60 proportion, 40% at top, 60 at bottom. If we have an empire waist, which is the waistline just under the bust, we have more of a 30-70 proportion. And then if we have something that's more hips long, we start doing a 50-50 proportion, that sort of thing, okay? Proportion can mean the general boxiness of a coat or jacket in relation to the body. Okay. One of the key reasons why I recommend designing on a figure or flats template is I want you to design with the body in mind always. Clothing does not exist in a vacuum. And even when you're drawing out flats, it's really different when you have something. Look at these two flats. This one just looks like a bigger version of this one. But because I use the body as a reference, then you're able to see how it would fit on the body, how the proportions of the garment look in relation to the body. Okay. This is also why I recommend that when you're doing all your flats for a collection that you use the same size template over and over again. So we're seeing how all the clothing are made in relation to each other, like a fitted short crop, snug on the shoulders versus an oversized tunic length boxy, where this one is going to fit it's going to come off the shoulder. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to hang like that. Whereas this one is going to sit like that. And these two give off completely different looks, different vibes. It matches a different silhouette profile. It belongs in different collections. Okay? So you can get this sketchbook. I have a link in the description box. This is my sketchbook. Or, you can buy my templates in my store, or you can make your own templates. But I highly recommend that you use some sort of figure or flats template for your design work. Okay, moving on to analyzing Prada versus Versace. Let's look at these two coats. And these are both from their most recent collections, and I pulled a black leather coat from each one. And this one is very Versace-esque. It's close to the body, okay? It's still roomy enough that, coats have to be roomy enough so that you can wear clothes underneath it, okay? That's just basic coat fit 101. You can make like a coat dress that's not meant to be worn with anything underneath it, but this is a coat, okay? And it should be boxy enough that you should be able to slip a sweater on underneath the coat because it is a fall winter collection, but it's still fitted to the body, okay? It's longer, and that slim, long look adds to the elongation, the sleek, urbane, sexy look. The sleeves are slim cut and close to the arm. The shoulders are sharp. The lapel is sharp, like very sharp, elongated, sexy. Whereas the Prada coat most closely resembles a pea coat. It's boxy. The sleeves are roomier. The whole look is a bit more casual. You know, pea coats tend to be more casual than Chesterfields. Chesterfield is the name of a double-breasted or single-breasted fitted long outer coat, okay? And I want you to pay attention to the buttons here. When you have these very big, a little bit exaggerated buttons, it looks a little bit comical. A little bit comical, a little bit playful, which Prada is known for. Whereas the small, more proportionate kind of buttons, they add to the overall sleek look. Adding like a comically large button here would throw the whole look off. So honestly, I've told this story so many times, but I had this boss where we would just obsess over buttons for hours. And okay, you don't need to be that obsessive, but yeah, like buttons are a really important story to, like, especially center front buttons are really important to the story of the whole cut. So I pulled two, what I can say is like their little red dress from each collection, and they truly embody what each label is known for, and a lot of that has to do with the proportions, okay? I mentioned before that where the waist sits on a dress like impacts the overall feel of the dress. The Versace dress, you can see it does have a seam at the natural waist, okay? No drop waist. And in this collection and in every Versace collection, there was a grouping of very tight bodycon dresses. But I tried to find one that was fitted but not so extremely different from Prada to still show that just even more similar looks, the proportion still makes what brand it comes from glaringly obvious. Okay, first of all, we have the very short hemline, so that's one kind of proportion, okay? This one is cut close to the body, not bodycon, but it still skims and fits the body, especially through here. We have this, like, some call it a sleeveless kimono, where it's like very wide shoulders with no sleeve, but it kind of has this cap sleeve silhouette. And with the broader shoulders, it gives a tapering feel to the waist. So it's like emphasizing the waist even more by giving that tapered look, okay? This whole draped turtleneck is kind of a reference to the fall winter vibes, like something has to be covered up. It's not the legs, it's not the arms. We're going to cover up the cleavage instead, okay? And this is not a color video, but the bright red of this all is very Versace as well, okay? Whereas the Prada dress, okay, this is a extremely stereotypical Prada silhouette. Sleeveless tank, jewel neck, long, cuts off just below the knee, and is loose through the waist. It is a shift dress, okay? A sheath dress is when it's fitted with like fisheye darts around the waist. A shift dress is when it's straight up and down. And the emphasis here is on texture, which Prada loves to play with, even when it's purely visual texture. Like, it just looks like it's textured, even if it's not textured, because it's playing with a monochromatic color scheme. If you blow it up, it's a print, or actually it might be a jacquard, so it's The difference between a jacquard and a print is a design that's just applied color on top of a fabric, whereas a jacquard is when you have a pattern that is woven into the very fabric. Like the pattern is woven, that's how the fabric is formed with the pattern in it. Okay, this is most likely a jacquard, but it creates that texture. Okay, and so these two are very like silhouettes that each house is known for. I mean, the styling and everything with like the offbeat colors and the offbeat accessories versus like the shiny red shoe and the little gloves. Like we could go on and on about how these two looks really embody their respective houses. These two skirt suits do the same thing. They do embody house codes of each house. Okay, so first of all, we have this Versace skirt suit. Again, the shorter skirt. The top is boxy, okay, whereas Versace is typically known for being more fitted, but it is short so you can see the rest of the body more, okay. The gold Medusa buttons are very Versace. Versace, whether it's accessories or clothes, are known for black with the gold Medusa buttons or round buttons with the Medusa on it, variations, right? Whereas the Prada suit, you know, it's got that long midi length skirt, long elongated suit jacket. Okay, it has kind of the longer, like, I want to call it dowdy chic. Okay, Prada is queen of like the dowdy chic proportions. Okay, it's not sexy chic, it's dowdy chic. And yeah, the fashion girlies love it. It's not as a conventionally attractive proportion, but you know, Miuccia Prada is not, that's not her vibe anyway. Do you see how the short jacket and the short skirt proportions just scream Versace, even before we get to the black, red, and gold, versus the tweed, the elongated, the midi length, like all these things are also very Prada. These two long coats embody their house bags, actually. You know, if you want to harken back to, I want to say 1995, when Prada first came out with that infamous little black nylon backpack. And this coat really embodies that. Nylon, sporty, silver hardware. And then here, these classic Versace bags that are black with the gold hardware. We have a sleek, fitted, sharp-shouldered black coat with the black Medusa buttons. Very urbane, fitted. It looks bigger because it's unbuttoned, but if this were closed, it would be very fitted, whereas this is more, it's like a sporty cocoon where it's like a little bit more rounded at the top and ever so gently tapers towards the bottom. Okay, and more than anything, the proportions of the sleeves, okay, this sporty, puffy, you know, I'm gonna guess there are some Velcro elements in here, that sporty, puffy look, versus the sleek, tailored, fitted, can barely get a sweater in there, sleeve from Versace, okay? These are all just playing with the proportions. And that's it for today on proportions. Short and sweet. Proportions aren't a difficult concept to understand, but it's worth noting and it's worth paying attention to specifically so that you too can pay attention to it specifically when you're putting your garments together. Think about what I said today about how different proportions give different looks. Think about the kind of vibe aesthetic that you're going for in your own clothes, whether, you know, short lengths are better for you, close to the body is better for you in expressing what you want. There is no wrong way to go about it. It is about truthfully sharing your aesthetic by using your proportions correctly. Okay? Drop me all your questions below as well as your video requests, and I will see you in the next video.